Reagan, and today I'm here to bring you my November wrap-up. Now this video is being sponsored in part by HMH Teen and Simon Tea. So for the month of November, I'm actually really pleased with myself because I followed through on my wish to read a lot this month. Ultimately, I ended up reading 7 books this month, and I loved pretty much every single one of them, which was just really exciting, and I'm hoping this strong reading game will carry me through for the rest of the year. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in. So the first book I'm going to talk about is the Peruse-topia book club pick of the month for the month of November, and that book is The Empress by S.J. Kincaid. Now I've already done a full non-spoiler review of this book and the first book, which I'll leave linked down below, but this is the sequel to the first novel, The Diabolic, which came out last year, and this is a YA space opera story. It follows our main character Nemesis, who is literally created, like biologically created, to protect the one she was created for. She's like a literal fighter. She can kill you with like a flick of the wrist. She's very cold, she's very factual, and in the first novel she realizes the way to protect the one she loves most is to actually impersonate her at the Galactic Court. So she does that, she gets wrapped up in all sorts of politics, and she begins to feel something like humanity. So we follow her through all of those things, and the second book takes off right where the first book ended, and my god, this book was just a lot. Not gonna lie, the first 100 to 150 pages, it did take me a little bit to get into. It was a bit slower and the plot devices were a little conventional, but there is definitely a point of no return in this book. I got sucked into the plot and I read the last 200 pages literally in one sitting. It was like, oh my god, I cannot believe this is happening. Essentially. I also feel like this novel has just a really creative science fiction world. This is centered around the concept of, it's incredibly advanced. This is, you know, it's a society that lives in space, has spaceships, has space travel. The government has outlawed science and learning, so all of the technology that they're actually using is like ancient technology from the people that came before. So if anything breaks, they don't actually know how to fix it. So it's definitely an interesting concept within a science fiction world. Now, this book was definitely darker than the first one. I did enjoy it. I ended up giving it a 3.5 stars because it had a bit of a slower start, but I honestly, based on the ending of this, cannot wait for the third one. I honestly have no idea what is gonna happen next. Next book I finished this month is literally my lifeblood. My life, my love, my one true feeling, and that is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is the third and final book to the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy. And my god, to even begin to express to you the feels I have just thinking about this, experienced while reading this, it would take all day. This is an incredible conclusion to an incredible trilogy that has fast become one of my favorite book trilogies of all time. Victoria Schwab is masterful in creating characters and plots and just everything you want in a fantastic book. She literally has never disappointed me, and I've read a lot of her books. This was amazing. I'm so happy that they recently announced that there's going to be more books in this world because I need more. I need more from this world. I need to see my characters again. They're like my family now. It's incredible. I've explained what this book series is about a lot, but I'll do it one last time. It is set amongst 3 parallel Londons. We follow one of our main characters who can travel between all of those Londons. There's Grey London, which has no magic. There's Red London that's flourishing with magic, and then there's White London that is literally being eaten alive by the magic, and then there's Black London, which no one can go to. It has been devoured. There's a lot of politics. There's just so much. Just read it. I obviously gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It's incredible. Honestly, incredible. The next 2 books I'm showing off are part of the same series, and that is Vengeance Road and Retribution Rails by Erin Bowman. I read both of these books at the beginning of the month, and my god, if you want a fun Western story, these are the books for you. Both of these books actually follow different sets of main characters but exist within the same world, but I still recommend reading the first one, Vengeance Road, before jumping in the sequel, Retribution Rails. Now going into the specifics of each book, Vengeance Road follows our main character Kate, who at the beginning of the story, her father is tragically murdered. Then Kate sets out on a tale of vengeance, an adventure of basically just going to kill her father's murderer. You see Kate as she has to like get herself in all sorts of different situations. She cross-dresses both as a lady of the night, a man. She tries to infiltrate a gang. This is literally the fun shooter Western story you're looking for. It was a lot of fun. It was incredibly fast-paced. It did have a very linear plot, which made it really easy to digest, but also made the plot itself a little simple. Ultimately though, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed it and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. The sequel, Retribution Rails, is actually a dual perspective story, which was something I really enjoyed kind of growing off of the first book. We follow one of our main characters, Reese Murphy, who's a part of a very notorious gang and is basically trapped there. He was kind of like tricked into it and now he can't escape. We also follow Charlotte Vaughn, who is an aspiring reporter during this age, and she's essentially trying to save her family from her evil uncle who's like trying to marry her mother. It's intense. I really enjoyed the expansion of the plot in this. I feel like in this novel, the Western world was kind of expanded. We follow a variety of different characters now, and there was also a lot of really amazing nuggets from the first book present in this. Going into more specifics though, I just loved Charlotte Vaughn. She contrasted Kate, our first main character, really interestingly. She's not so much a gunslinger, but she's still very powerful and she really will always go after what she wants. As a reporter though, it just added a really interesting element, especially with the sensationalist like newspaper of this era. I actually thought this book was even better than the first one. I really enjoyed the plot, the dual perspective narrative. I really felt like it gave the characters a lot of dimension, and I ended up giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was another favorite, oh my gosh. And I actually read it during my 24 hours of reading, which is a vlog, which I'll leave linked down below. But the book is The King of Atlantis by Megan Wallen Turner. This is the third book to the Thief Quartet. It was just so incredible. Again, I can't even express it to words with you. Specifically though, this novel was amazing. We follow all of the same characters that we have followed throughout the previous books, but the thing about this novel that I thought was really unique is that we actually had a new main character perspective that was closely related to one of our main characters, and we kind of got to see our previous main characters like maneuvering in politics through the perspective of some poor soldier who got wrapped up in all of the, you know, like politics of the court. It was just really interesting. It almost actually gave us more perspective into Eugenides' behavior by experiencing it through somebody else. It also had some really great elements then of like dramatic irony, because as a reader, we already are pretty familiar with Eugenides' behavior, but our new main character is not. So the interactions that they had and the conversations we had, as a reader we had a little more insight on what was going on, so it added elements of humor and also suspense. This book was amazing. It's definitely my favorite of the series so far. I cannot wait to read the 4th and final book. If you have not picked this up, I would highly recommend it. They're short, they're really fast reads. Again, I read this in one day, and I ended up giving this, of course, a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I finished was The Wizards of Once by Cassandra Cow. This is a middle grade story following our two main characters, Czar and Wish. Czar is the son of the Wizard King, and Wish is the son of the Warrior Queen. Wizards were essentially wiped out by the Warrior Clan, and at the beginning of the story, Czar would do anything for magical powers, and Wish stumbles upon a magical artifact, and their stories kind of combine. The thing that's really amazing about this story is not only is it a really fun tale of adventure and fantasy, but there's illustrations throughout that are really unique. They're like pencil drawings, and I just thought it added such a cool element to this tale. Also, the narrator of this book was really great as well. He was omniscient. He was actually one of the characters present in the story. We just don't know which character it is, which added a really cool element. I cannot wait for the next book in the story. I really enjoyed it. I flew through it because there's so many pictures, and I ended up giving this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars. It was a lot of fun. And the last book I completed this month is Beasts of Extraordinary Circumstances by Ruth Emmy Lang. This is an adult literary fiction novel following our main character, Waylon Gray, who is an orphan raised by wolves. We follow him during multiple periods of his life. He's a very peculiar man with magical abilities that are very much unexplained, but this book is incredibly charming, and it's actually told through the perspective of a lot of different people that meet Waylon Gray throughout his life during different like distinct periods. I really enjoyed this book. I just fell into it. It kind of gave me like a whimsical nostalgia factor that I don't know how, because I didn't meet anyone raised by wolves ever. Also, it gave me like Big Fish vibes. Like, it wasn't as magical as Big Fish, but it had this like small town, strange person who's like really funny and like outgoing come in. I don't know. It was just such a great story. I also just enjoyed the narrative style of reading about Waylon through everyone he interacted with and how he impacted them individually. It was just so cool. And also, he's just such a funny character because he's so strange, but he does not care. He doesn't care, he's just living his life. I just absolutely flew through this book. I honestly don't have much negative to say about it. It was just charming and lovely, and I really enjoyed it at the end of the day, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Alrighty guys, that is my November wrap up. Let me know down below the books that you read this month that were your absolute favorites, as I would love to know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!